utilize the chat, or at the end of the session, I'll let you unmute and we can go back and forth about any questions you might have. I am obviously today talking about the InTouch websites and some of the basics and how you want to start setting it up so you can think about it as a fundamental piece in your marketing strategy. I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat. Welcome. Looks like there was some confusion with the link. I was going to go ahead and start the class. So feel free to mute yourself, and I am just about to get rolling. You haven't missed anything yet. I'm just adding a little note into the chat, so bear with me one moment. You are joining late. All right, so that little note is in there. I'm already recording. And for anyone that does not know me, my name is Anuj. I'm the field marketing specialist here in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. I am going to figure out what's going on with the link because it's supposed to be the same one that's used recurring. So I'll get that straightened out after today's session. I'm going to go ahead and record the class, send it to everybody that registered, and get it fixed for the next time around. So today we're talking about websites, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this slide because my class today is actually going to be predominantly a live demo. So if you have two screens, you can kind of feel free to follow along, or if you just want to watch, and feel free to use the recording later to leverage in anything you're using or to use when you're working on your website. Either works. I'm also going to send in the recap a couple of notes that might be handy, and if there's any questions asked, I'll also plug those. Feel free to utilize the chat, or at the end of the session, I will open up the floor for questions. I'm going to go ahead and open up my CB desk, and then I'll reshare my screen. Today, we're talking about the InTouch website, some of the basics in setting it up, and then how you can start to think about it as the central part of your marketing strategy. I always like to think a good website is the hub of your marketing plan, and then all of the other spokes like a Instagram channel, LinkedIn page, Facebook page, any kind of mailers that you send out, uh, all these kind of marketing arms, your listing concierge orders, all are built to drive traffic either to one of these other channels where your consumers are, or back to your website, which should contain all of the best highlights about your business and the communities that you work in, and advertise that connection you have to those communities. Our websites are all available in InTouch. So through your ASP with the company, you guys get a standard account with Market Leader, who develops InTouch. There is a pro version. I'm just going to quickly touch on this. That is $175 a year. And there's two things that really, for the consumer benefit, get added. A, it allows you to get a masked domain, so you don't have to necessarily see the yourname.cbintouch.com up here when you get to the website. And the other thing it gives you, I'm going to go to one of my agents as an example. Oops. It gives you this little handy Market Insider icon. Now, there are other facets that affect like listing alerts and contact, the amount of people you can contact over the course of a month, but those aren't really relevant to the website class. But this aspect is. These are really cool breakdowns that allow you to provide information to your consumer and create another capture point. You can type in any specific zip code that you would like. It always should go to the one that you're consumer, oops, is geotagged in. But you can have, your audience can type in whatever they would like, and they'll see all of this great data that can be leveraged for great conversation points or used again as a capture point on your website. But I digress. That's just the pro stuff, and really not going to dive into too much of that. The rest of what we're going to talk about is what do you want to do to get those fundamentals started, and how you can think about adding content and leveraging it back to your website in the long term of your marketing plan. If you haven't started a marketing plan, feel free to reach out to your field marketing specialist, your local one. That's what we're here to help you do, and work with your manager to make sure all of this flows nicely with your business plan to help meet some targeted goals that you can set. First thing you want to do, I'm going to try and zoom this in a little bit to make it bigger. First thing you want to do is go into My Account. Click on Account. I'm going to go here to My Account. Before you start editing the actual back end on the website side, you want to get some of these handy basics handled right out of the gate. First thing are profile details, because all of these are reflected on the website. When you click edit, you're going to see some quick things you want to change. You want to make sure these are accurate. So I don't have an iPhone, so I can't FaceTime, so that's not there. But I can do the rest of these things, so I leave those on. Make sure the appropriate phone numbers are set. I think that's the office number. I haven't been to the office in a long time. I don't have a license, so again, make sure your license number's here. If you are part of a team, there really isn't much that happens on the website side, but it does, I believe, allow for, on the marketing end, to upload a team photo. Doesn't really make much difference here, though, so I'm not going to talk much about it. Make sure your appropriate title is there. All of you are realtors. And any appropriate designations. If you're a senior real estate specialist, if you, that's the only one I know off the top of my head. If you have any of those kind of little icons, make sure you put them here. A lot of consumers don't know what they necessarily mean, but flashy things are there for the sake of creating conversation and getting questions from your consumers. And if you have any kind of specialty like you're smart home certified, that's important for your consumer to know. Make sure your external email is updated to whatever the appropriate email for your business is. If you're using your Coldwell Banker email, make sure that is here. Your consumer will always see, when you're sending out any collateral, this CRM email. That's for the purposes of, that's how InTouch tracks. Make sure your open rates, that's how you get your open rate data, any bounced emails, all of that stuff. But when they reply to, you want to go down here and make sure the external email is the option selected. Website, again, this is the domain you have. If you go to like a GoDaddy or Squarespace and purchase, in my case, MontereyRealtor.com, and that happens to be available, this is where you're going to want to edit that and add it here. Actually forwarding that domain to this is a different space entirely. So talk to your field marketing specialist about that, but you do want to make sure that your personal domain is added in this space. Below is where you will work on your website. Wow, I didn't think it was going to shrink there. Let's open it back up. You've got two sections, your bio summary and your full bio. These are the spaces you're going to edit these, and that's why I like to open this first, because in your website, you might be tempted to edit your bio on the About page in the back end, but that won't work. What you want to do is come here. This is what's going to edit your About page, and then you can view your About page. I'm going to go ahead and use my website as an example. The bio summary is what's going to show up in the contact card, which is an option that you can edit on your homepage. This is an opportunity to add a punchy elevator pitch for who you are and how your business operates, or even better, if you shot an intro video and worked with your marketing specialist on something like that, that's where I would add this right below the text that you have. I believe the limit here is about 600 characters. So it's about a good paragraph that you can get going. And then down here, you can have your full bio, the full-fledged out thing. If you've gotten from Design Concierge, they also give you a short and long bio. You can add those different ones here, and you can see your About page will be that Contact Me page. Sorry, it will be the About page. That was a little of a brain fart. And this is just what you would see if you clicked view your about page, just to drive that point home. And below where you can edit your social media options, you can see those are what populate right next to your name, as well as on the header as well. So make sure you're not linking to anything that isn't actively updated. Something that could be very harmful to your brand is to, for example, link to a YouTube page that hasn't been updated in 6 months or a year, or to link to a Instagram page that you haven't posted to in a month or two. You want to make sure you're only linking to things that are active to the brand. And as you fold new things in, you can go ahead and add new social media by selecting whatever option you are trying to connect, and then pasting that URL here and hitting save. If you need to delete anything, you click on the little X below. Editing these spaces are just as simple as they are editing in any of the InTouch email blasts or any of the marketing collateral that you can edit digitally. It's a very simple HTML editor. So you've got a space here where you can edit your text just like you would in a simple Word editor. You've got a few paragraph headings, a handful of font options, and font sizes. You can make bullet points, increase indents, and choose text colors. You can also insert links, and this is where you can get creative because you have the same editing options on the back end when it comes to the community pages. And that's where you can really create a space that is revisitable and recaptures consumers. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But just like you would in any space, if you want to insert a link, you just highlight what you would like, paste whatever the link is that you're trying to paste, and then hit OK. If you want to insert an image, these are actually images that need to have been loaded into your image library in the marketing center. So because this is going to come in handy later, I'm actually going to show you how to add an image in that library. So we're going to quickly go into the marketing center. So for example, if you have a logo that you want to show off that the design team built, you would come in here and go into images. And it is here where you can upload and organize any collateral you want to, or any images for the library that you would like to use on your website, anywhere on your website. You're going to need to have them preloaded here. So whatever image I want to pick, let's go ahead and do this one. All I need to do, as you saw in that editor, it's going to want a code. So you're going to pick whatever image you've uploaded, and you're going to right click and hit copy image address. That's what you're looking for. So again, I right clicked. Once I have, let's go ahead. Sorry, I made this all big, so it's going to take me a while to go back and forth here. Once I've uploaded an image that I want, which is just as simple as picking a file and selecting it from your computer and uploading it in. And this is an important note, actually. This little, scroll down right here. Please, 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 for your own business safety, because nothing's worse than getting smacked with the copyright suit for unnecessary reasons. Do not use images that you either do not have the rights to use, like any collateral that you get from the company is all for fair game for you guys to use. Anything you get off of Google is most likely not. So don't just grab images. Like, for example, I use an image of the Bixby Bridge in my profile. I took this picture, so it's okay for me to use it. If I were to just Google that image and grab one off of Google, and the copyright holder for that image was so inclined to pressure you about it, you could get yourself into an unnecessary argument that, like I said, is completely unavoidable. There are tons of great libraries to get images that are unlicensed and available for public use, or things that you have created for you, or collateral that you've made or pictures you've taken yourself are obviously fair game. But if you want access to some great libraries of free images, again, this is a great option. Reach out to your FMS. They've got tons of sources for you to leverage. But after you've uploaded an image, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the one I want. I clicked on it so I can see it in its full entirety. I'm going to right click, copy image address, and we're going to go back to the space I want to put it. And this could work for anywhere in the editor, like if you're editing a community page or if we were going to add it to my full bio. So let's say this is a charity I'm highlighting this month, and I can come down here and type in, here is this month's, whoops. And then let's say I'm doing a video about it. Check my or you can always, embed that video here if you're using YouTube. There's all kinds of great ways to do this. I'm just showing the image for the sake of, and you can make that image link to something too if you wanted. But let's go ahead and click. We know where we want our image to go. It's going to go right here. So I'm going to click Insert Image. And again, I'm just going to make this a little bit easier to see. Your image is going to go wherever your cursor is. So if I left my cursor here, it would drop in right next to that text. I want it to go underneath the text. So I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor right there. I'm going to scroll back and hit Add and Insert Image. And then this is where I can right click and paste that image I had. And you're going to see, leave that constrained proportions on. It'll make sure it adjusts it based on the size of the image to make sure it doesn't make it too tall compared to its width, or too short compared to its width, or too narrow compared to its height, etc. I know that 1080 is going to be very big, so I'm going to scale this down to 500. That'll automatically adjust, and voila. If you want to make it smaller, you don't have to adjust it with the numbers. You can just click on those handy dandy corner and you'll see that arrow pop up. And then I can scale it down. Let's say I want it to be right there, just under 400. Now I can also take this image and make it a clickable link and then paste the URL. If that's the, you always want to get the full URL. So you want to get the go to whatever the website is and copy it like this. So you get the HTTPS:/, but you guys get the idea. If we were going to make it link, if you were going to be pasting a video into this space, you would come into this code and add it here. So we would go to, let's say I'm grabbing one of my YouTube videos. And again, this is going to work the same way across the board. Let's say I just want to grab this video. And we're going to get this info right here, embed. Copy. Bring it right into here. I know this is where I want it to go. I'm going to choose in my source code. And drop it in. And just like that, you've got a video. Now these, if you want to constrain those proportions, gets a little bit more tricky. You're going to play with these numbers here, width and height. But this gets a little bit more advanced. So if you want to start getting into some more of the creatives there, I would suggest that's a bigger conversation that you should schedule time with your marketing specialist to go over. And then we can move this up just by clicking there and deleting some of that extra space. If I move my cursor right here, I can align my video so I make sure it's centered. And bam, now we can hit save. And the beauty of these kind of updates, is that they happen dynamically. So now that you see profile updated successfully, I can come here, refresh, and just like that, the video's here. So that's just getting started on the bio. I'm just trying to check how I'm doing for time. I'm doing okay for time. All right. So that's just the foundation, right? You want to get your bio summary, your full bio, and build out that space so people know who you are and what you're about and the connection you have, not necessarily right out of the gate, because that's where your community pages come in, but a little bit of the connection you have to your region. The rest of the big editing is done here in website. Go ahead and close these tabs. We're going to click on website and we're going to hit edit site. You're going to land on the landing page, which brings you to pages under the website menu. So as you can see under this menu, you've got 4 tabs under website: appearance, pages, footer, and custom analytics. We're going to go over these in just a bit. And then under content, community served, partners and testimonials, listing search, options, and search widget. Testimonials, because I forgot to mention it while we were looking at my about page, can be added by your consumers on your about page with this handy dandy recommend me button. All they got to do is click that, and then those get added and will populate automatically right down here at the bottom of the page. And you can add a section for them on your homepage as well. So let's look at these real quick. You've got these pages, these menu items, and then you've got sub pages below. And you can tell, and if you want a good visual representation, let's go back to my page. All of these correspond with one of these. And I'm sorry if you hear children outside. That's just, you know, one of the shelter in place dealies. They're just starting to get loud. If you look at these, like under resources here, this is a great way to make sure that when you're on mobile view, especially, you don't want to have too many tabs. It's going to get complicated and messy, and it gets hard to funnel through. And the reason you have some of these, because you'll see when you go to add one, you've got the option to add a page, menu item, or a link. What are the differences for you as an agent? Pages give you the option to add SEO titles and meta descriptions, which helps feed web crawlers content that they can link to you when people are searching not only for you, but for your region as well. Over the course of time, the more you update these websites, specifically these community pages, with great local updates or great market updates, the key is the more frequently you update your website, or I should say the more regularly you update your website, the better chance that those SEO tags have of being relevant to your online footprint and help your business grow and reach more consumers, right? But that's a long game to play, and this is where it starts. The reason I made resources a menu item is because it is not a clickable page. Whoops, that's home search. Resources isn't a clickable page. You would go to one of the pages under a resource tab. A link is what I did, what you can see for the YouTube channel. If you go and click YouTube channel, it will direct your consumer right to whatever you are linking to. So again, when you're adding a page, whatever you want to call it, and then you can add your SEO and meta description. A menu will only give the option to give it a name and a link. Again, you'll put the URL, whatever the text is, and then you'll hit save. These are all easy to move by grabbing. You can see when you hover over them, they turn into a hand. Grab, click, and hold, and you can drop these up and down. And if you want to add something to a subcategory of a menu, all you have to do is, as you can see, is drop it like that. Or if you drag it back out, it will be a menu item. Once you're done, hit save. And congratulations, your updates will be reflected. There are updates that do take a little bit more time to reflect, and the only ones that do are the appearance updates. So let's go ahead and dive into those. This is where you choose your logo. If you are a global luxury specialist, you will also see those populate here. If you are not, you will not. Fairly self-explanatory. But whatever logo you choose is what will populate on the web page. So let's say I chose that. Right now I have this. That would be a bad idea because you wouldn't be able to see it. But it takes a while to reflect that update. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure it stays back on what it is. It could take up to an hour for that change or these changes to hold. When you click Launch Setup Wizard, you've got a few templates you can choose from. And as you can see, you get a good visual representation of what's going on in each one. And you can also choose a dark text light background or a light text with a dark background. You hit next, and this is where you can choose your colors and your accents. If you've worked with Design Concierge on branding, you do get a brand book that comes back with all of the Pantone numbers that you need for any color matching. Fonts are limited to what you have in here. But once you've set those options, you can come to the image library. Now this is reflected on the image you see here when you click home and look at the home search. You can add up to 4 images, and if you do, they look like this, and it carousels through them for your consumer to see. Great handy way to constantly not only make sure your website stays up to date and relevant in the SEO space, but for your consumer to land on it and go, hey, something's changed and updated, to get them to nose around a little bit more. This is a great thing to do quarterly, is to update these photos. Whoops. Got a little excited there. All you have to do is hit add an image. And here you can upload an image either from your current catalog of images or upload your own. Anything that you upload, again, can be meta tagged. And the headline is what this will do. Adding a headline will put a block of text on the image. These do not have a headline on them, so you don't see any text. And when you go to the review option, here is where you can choose what you would like to be featured next to your name in the contact section, where you would like the property search to display, and if you don't want one, you can uncheck it. And then what text you would like to be here. And once you hit save, some of those updates, like I said, will take some time to reflect. I believe the text and the color might reflect right away. So I'm just going to, hey, look at that, it did. Awesome. The logo is basically the one that takes the longest to change. But those are the appearance section. Footer, as you can imagine, will add any additional. So this is automatically built in. If you add anything to the footer, it will show up above your office address, which is what was available to edit in your My Account section. And under the analytics section here's where you can also link Google Analytics and Facebook Pixel to have all of your tracking in the dashboard that is communicated from InTouch to you. They send you an analytics update. Now, content. This is the big space that if I were a brand new agent, once you finish the bio section, this is where you want to dive in right away next. What you'll be able to do here is add these communities. And as you can see on my website, they'll show up here as well as under your community tab. And it will show you one of my agents as well for comparison. You can see there's a bunch of different options for how these lay out. And if you upload your own image, they'll populate in here. If you don't, you get some stock photos. And I'm going to use hers as an example because it's much more built out. But as you can see, when you click on a specific section, your consumer gets a bunch of great info that you can add in. And this is a great place, again, for constant updating, like once a quarter, that can increase the traffic to your website and the value to your consumer beyond whenever they just want to buy and sell a home. So what do you want to, how do you edit these spaces? You can click add a community and it brings in this brand new space to add a community. And it's also just the same if you're going into edit. So I'm going to go into edit here. First things first, you give your community a name. If you check this box, it will populate that community in your community section at the top right here. As you can see, there are other communities that this agent has added, but the only ones checked will populate right up at the top for easy access. The boundaries are very important. There's two ways you can add boundaries, and these directly reflect on the information here. So if we clicked on Capitola, for example, and the information here. So if a consumer clicks on single family homes for sale, all of the information that you enter on the back end here, or if we were to look at mine, I don't have an MLS account, so nothing's going to show up. But as you can see, what I've entered here will directly reflect for my consumer. Areas are the sloppiest way to do it, so I don't recommend that. But what you can do instead of the area name is type in the zip code. And let's say I also want to include Carmel by the Sea in it, just because I think anybody shopping in that area might also be shopping in Carmel by the Sea. So let's go ahead and go back to my Big Sur. And now we can see that that's updated to, no, that hasn't updated yet because I didn't save it. Sorry. Let's just go ahead and save that real quick, and you can see how that update reflects. It's good because, again, it'll help you on the back end. If a consumer creates an account and they sign in and they save searches, helps you be a more proactive agent and figure out or try to better figure out exactly what they are looking for and kind of guide them in the right direction. Now, what can also be done is you can draw a map. And just like you imagine on any MLS section, you can only do one or the other. You can't do both. Drawing the map will allow you to click and draw a map. Then everything within the boundary of that map will be included in that home search for your consumer and will also show up instead of, the area that you're adding, it will show up here in the boundary for your consumer to see. The descriptions are key. So when you looked at right, I'm going to jump right down here. You can add community images. You can add up to 3 images for each community. And as you can see, the main one, the first one will always drop in right behind your community summary. And the last 2 will populate right below the community description and separate that from the property information below. So it makes a good bookend and separator. And in this space is where you can really show off your connection and your knowledge about the markets you're trying to convince people that you're the best person to represent them, either on the sales side or the buyer side. And here's why. And this is the website is an opportunity for your consumer to hear with their eyes. So for SEO purposes, I always recommend grab a paragraph or 2 from Wikipedia because it's an encyclopedia, for lack of better words. And it's very keyword friendly for search engine purposes. So you've got a paragraph or 2 you can grab from there. Then I would also add in a paragraph of your own. And I always recommend to my agents, think about how you would describe, like, I have friends from Boston. If my friend from Boston had never been to Big Sur, how would I describe this community to them? And then also, if your marketing plan is built out far enough, you can do things like highlight local businesses, add in YouTube videos that you've created about each section, promote giveaways that you're doing or listings that you have. Lots of great ways to update this content, again, on some kind of regular schedule to add value for your consumer. Any of these boxes that you check will show up right here and be handy. A little about the neighborhood quirks for your consumer. You can also add a couple of your own. And then you do get the options to SEO and meta tag each page. When you hit save, that community will be saved. Partners, below that is going to, if you are a pro member, I believe you get to edit the partners so you don't have to just show whatever our in-office partners are. Testimonials, you can come in here and you can't edit testimonials, but if you get someone that's spamming you, you can come in here and delete it. And lastly, the big cojones of the website, the listing search. Right in here is where you can customize the options for what your consumer can search for through your website. For example, if you don't handle rentals, no rentals can show up. Do you handle rentals? Check that box. I don't do commercial, or I do commercial. Don't want to do farm, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to work with, this is what you want to advertise. Do not function with any of these, because what's going to happen is it's only going to limit the search to the agents that are thorough with their updates on MLS when it comes to uploading the property. So if you this will only add properties that feature a garage. That's just too much of a mess. Don't do that. Now down here is uber important. Lead generating and tracking activity. Active will ask right after a consumer clicks on the second property. And what this is talking about, let's say you've gotten to the point where someone's here, they've clicked here, they're looking at homes, and someone goes, yes, I want to get more information about this $2.2 million beautiful woodsy view. I don't have an MLS account, but let's say I've looked at this property, right? If I look at one more, the next one I clicked on, paywall would pop up, essentially, for lack of better terms, and ask you to create an account and register with you as an agent. Passive will ask on the 5th property. I think this is too soon. I think this is too late, but everybody's got their own opinion. That's where the other comes in, and you can choose to have it pop up before viewing the 3rd property. I'm going to make it before viewing the 4th property. That's where you would edit that. Let's go back to edit site. The other big space you want to carve out, your homepage. What am I doing for time? Cool. I'm going to end with talking about the homepage. This is the only space you're going to dive in right out of the gate by clicking on page and edit page. Now, I do want to recommend you come in here. This, I think, by default says contact us. You're going to want to rename that to contact me. You could change this from about to, you know, whatever clever thing you want to do here, you can do. But this is just how you would update those items. That doesn't work because it's too long. Or you can't have punctuation. You can also edit SEO settings for each individual page. Very important in the long term. But if you want to edit the home page, you're going to click on edit page and you're going to come down here and it's a template, right? So there's not a ton you get to do, but at the same time, there's a ton you can do with it inside of these boundaries. So this contact card is automatically there for all agents, and this website standard, right? The main image and the home search, that can't be moved, but the rest of these can be shuffled around. I'm going to go ahead and click here. You can see my hand pop up from a finger to a hand. If you click, hold, and drag, these are all the tiles I have active right now. I want to keep that right up here, so I'm going to keep it right up here. There's a testimony. Actually, I put my testimonials here. I don't have any, though, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I don't want the dead space right now. You can also add new widgets. The standard ones are right in here. You can also add ones for custom content. Here's where you can adjust how MLS properties are featured, what you call it. You've got all of these custom, these cool ways to feature it. Whatever you choose, you hit save. Same thing for the communities, right? I've got this 3-box layout so I can feature my custom photos. I could also do individual ones. I could do just text. I could do the 6. And then if you were editing a section with text or a custom content space, here, as you can see for the contact card, you've got a handful of options to choose from. And let's say we add a custom space. This is where you can, what are you going to call it? What's the background going to be? White, accent 1, accent 2. And then you get, bam, into your editor. So we can build something that features your latest video. You could embed a playlist. You could highlight, whatever you wanted to do. Put your new clients for life here. All kinds of great stuff can be built to make your website your own. And this editor is just like it is in the one where we edited your bio. And that's it, guys. That's editing your website. That's all of the things you want to do. Whenever you're done, you want to hit preview and save. It's going to get you to the point where you can view what your website looks like on a desktop, on a tablet, and on a mobile device. And then you hit save, and easy peasy, everything's good to go. You can close. I am going to stop sharing my screen and see if there's any questions in the chat. Either of you that are here, feel free to unmute yourself, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Hey, thank you so much for having this class. This is definitely something that I've been needing to update since I've started in the real estate game. One thing I was curious about was MLS listings. So how do I update those? Because my website's linked, but I'm just looking to make sure that there's a consistent, up-to-date feed of new properties.
So the IDX feed is something your your SSA can or your FMS can check to make sure is set. And then I'm going to go ahead and just, again, I don't have an MLS account, so let me take the quick time while I'm the only thing on the screen to hop into an agent's account real quick. And I can show you how you can choose listings that are being featured in that stream. So it's not going to automatically update the featured listing section for you. So I would carve out, you know, 10 minutes in your like Monday to come in here. So I'm in the back end of one of my agent's accounts and go into listings. And you're going to hit market my listings. And right here, you can go to office listings, for example, if you don't have any. And then just check this little box, feature this property on my website. And then the property will be featured until it goes into either a contingent or pending status, and then it'll be removed. And then anything that gets new will show up unchecked, so you can come in here and add it to the website. And then if you want to add your own custom properties for like solds that maybe happened off market or something like that, that's this add custom property section would be how you would do that. And then those will be properties. So let's go ahead and go to this agent's website real quick. Those will be the properties that show up under the My Property space under solds. So you'll have a sold history. Let me look at a different. Here we go. Any listings that you have, so if you actually have more than 2, you can come in here to the Market My Listing section. And if you featured, your properties will automatically be checked to feature on your website. But if you want them to be the only ones, you have to have more than 2 and then come in here and then you can uncheck the office listings and then just have yours as solo features. You can also hit this and then you can only see the recent listings, and then that'll only prioritize the new listings to feature on this website, but keep everything available. So just in case your consumer is refreshing over and over again, they can see everything that's been linked. So does that answer everything for you?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
You are welcome. And then Kelly's got a question in here in the chat that CB will have another type of websites for its agent. Will InTouch will not be the primary unless we continue to pay for it. Is that correct? Yes and no. So InTouch is contracted with us like through 2025. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The Coldwell Banker website is going to be what eventually launches with the internal CRM that we've developed with Ojo Labs. The timetables on those websites, I believe they're like already beta testing in like Minnesota and some other markets. I wouldn't, like, if you're talking with your marketing specialist about things like that and you're interested in a better website, I would talk to your FMS about the partnership we just made with Luxury Presence. If your annual budget for the business can accommodate, the hosting fees for that, that would be the like bigger jump to go. But if you're happy with InTouch and are pro member now and are concerned about, any drop off or change, that's not happening within the next, 3 fiscal years. So there's nothing you need to worry about right now. Are there any other questions I can answer for either of you?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And